Everyone, Sandy Grove, registered nurse here with Health Tracks at Home. This is National Emergency Prep Month, which means we need to all start thinking about all those disasters that are actually going on in our community. Over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about being prepared for one of the many things that we are facing right now. Besides the pandemic, we have wildfires, we have poor air quality, we have earthquakes that we need to prepare for, and hurricanes are coming around other parts of the United States. We don't have to do that here, but it's a good idea to be prepared for anything that might come our way. So one of the things I wanted to talk about first of all is to remind you that the wildfires have affected our air quality. We in San Diego do not normally look at the air quality because we assume that everywhere that we go, our air is nice and clean and fresh because of the ocean breezes or the Santa Ana winds. However, it's a good idea to start looking at your phone or the weather channels that will tell you what the air quality is on a daily basis. For the last 2 weeks since our fires have started, we have been in the unhealthy and the hazardous zone in parts of the county that you would not think would have poor air quality. And it is not recommended when there is unhealthy, and it is when it's hazarded, it is recommended you stay in completely. So no exercise when it's unhealthy and stay in when it's hazardous. So even though you live in Point Loma like me, the air quality is bad. My son who lives in Mira Mesa, the air quality has been bad. My daughter who lives in the Lakeside area where the fires are, the smoke has kind of gone over the top of her and her air quality has been bad, but not as bad as ours over the last couple of weeks. So please check that before you go out to exercise at any time of the day. Sometimes it's worse in the evening because of the offshore breezes, etc. I would recommend an app called ClimaCell, ClimaCell. It's free, and it gives you put in your actual address. So it gives you the air quality right where you are. Our apps on our smartphones give you kind of, by zip codes, but it doesn't give you what the temperature and the air quality is where you actually live. So I would recommend that. And please start looking at that. I became aware of this a couple of years ago when I was up in Oregon after our wildfires and found out why there was nobody at the Oregon Zoo and why there was nobody up on top of the hills because the air quality was hazardous. And I now look at my phone and I check and I see what's going on since I have asthma before I go outside and exercise. Today on the coast, our air quality is moderate. Hallelujah. We can go for a walk. So just keep an eye on that. And as a reminder, like I say, I always obtain the information that I give you from reliable sources. And this week, it's the Homeland Security site again, which is ready.gov. Please go there and look. They got great information. And AARP. As you know, things can change from yesterday to today. So if you have any questions, please clarify it with your provider, your healthcare provider. So the first thing that FEMA says you need to do is get a kit. And AARP agrees, and they say emergency kits, they are available that are already prepared. They run anywhere from $35 to $150, and that's a good start to get those basic things that you might need if you don't already have that in your house. Or you can build your own. So what would you need? Well, basic supplies are those things that we need to live. And that would be food, water, clean air, and any life-sustaining things that you might need to survive, like medications. So they say consider having 2 kits. One that you're going to check every 6 months to make sure nothing has been expired and replace it. And in that kit, it could be a large suitcase, it could be a large tote. This is where you put this whole list of things I'm going to talk about today. And that stays somewhere in your garage so that if we have an earthquake, if we have something that we are trapped in our homes, we have the things that we need readily available for us in that big box. The other thing is they recommend that we either have a backpack or a small suitcase for each one of us. If we have to leave the house quickly in a run, the people with the wildfires never thought they were going to have to get out of their house so quickly. Some of them did not have the 1, 2, 3 warning. They got the 3 warning and they had to go immediately. So this is when you don't know if you have to run. Think about the type of bag. You want it to be lightweight, but you want it to have room to keep some things in for you to survive for a few days away from your own home. So think small and portable. So what are the recommended basic emergency supplies? They include water, of course, 1 gallon per person for 3 days for drinking and for sanitation. So you may need that to clean things up. You might have cuts, bruises, etc. You need to use water. Food, at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable foods. And they recommend things like granola bars, protein bars, things that you can get a whole bunch of different flavors, but they fill you up and they give you a bolus of calories and appropriate food to keep you going for a few days. Anybody can live on granola bars or protein bars for 3 days. It's a good idea. They don't take up much room. And remember to have a can opener if you're saving cans or non-perishable foods. Keep that in your kit. And remember, not in the house, in the kit. Just a reminder. Mess kits. A mess kit for those that have been in the military, those are spoons, forks, plates, napkins, paper cups, etc. So that things you use to help you eat. They recommend you keep some matches in a waterproof container just in case you might need those. Also, a battery operated or a crank radio that has a tone alert, and also extra batteries to go with that AM/FM radio so that you can get your information. We found out with the fires in 2003 that our cell phone towers went down. That affected the entire county. If we have an earthquake, that's a great possibility. Our phones may not work, so we need to have a radio that we can get information in case of an emergency in our home. Obviously, flashlights with extra batteries. Check those batteries all the time. First aid kit. Those are easy to get and to make sure you can clean yourself up. And I love this one, a whistle. A whistle in case you are healthy and trapped inside your house. That can happen in an earthquake, especially. There will be people coming, emergency response teams that will be coming to your street. A way to get their attention is a whistle. They are prepared to listen for that. So I think that's a great suggestion. The other thing is dust masks. Those are the cone masks that guys use when they're doing woodworking, or women do when they're doing woodworking. That helps. If you remember, like 9/11, all the dust and the crud that was in the air during that emergency, that happens with earthquakes. A lot of particles go into the air, so they recommend you have dust masks in your kit. And then, of course, moist towelettes and those things you would need for personal sanitation, a wrench or pliers to turn off your utilities, and then a multi-purpose tool that's a knife and a can opener, etc., bottle opener, etc. Clothing. This is, some people figure they can stay in the same clothes for 3 days. That's fine. But what you do want to do is make sure that you have extra layers, especially if we go into the cold season, and something light rain gear, something to cover your shoes, something to cover your clothing. At least a few days worth to protect you. So you want layers. Local maps. This is a good idea because, as we have seen, probably in the devastation of the wildfires, the street signs are gone. Some of the streets are gone. All of the buildings are gone. The places and what we use as markers to get around our city might be gone. So it's a good idea to have a local map. I love that suggestion. Remember your pets, have a little bit of pet food and some water for them and for your service animals, if you have one. Medications, they recommend you have at least a week's supply inside the box. And again, that's one of those things you would check for and rotate through every 6 months. And then basic electronics. We say, make sure you have your cell phone cord. But if we have a major disaster, is the electricity going to be working? Is the gas going to be working? So there are portable batteries for your smartphones if you have a smartphone, and I would recommend you get one of those for emergency only, so that you can recharge your phone. However, we don't know if the phones would work. That's why you want to have a landline. If you have a landline, it continues to work in an emergency. So we still have one, even though we hardly ever talk on it. Again, personal needs, such as an extra set of glasses. If you wear contact lenses, you definitely want to have glasses. Your glasses might get broken, so you want to have a second pair. You want to be able to see, especially in an emergency. Those extra batteries. Definitely remember, if you use oxygen or a person with disabilities, wheelchair, the things that you might need in case of an emergency. And if you are on oxygen, you need to register with your local fire department so that they will be alerted that they need to come and check on you if there is a state of emergency, especially if you live out in the Tules and you're dealing with oxygen. Then another recommendation is to have a waterproof bag, it could be a Ziploc bag filled with photocopies of your important documents. There's a long list of these, but I would recommend you go on the website to get a list of these: birth certificate, driver's license, all those things, in case yours gets destroyed. So think about what might be in that Ziploc bag. Also, the names and numbers of all your contact people. If our phones are not working, and I've taught this before, do you know the telephone numbers of your family members? I would, under stressful circumstances, probably not be able to remember. When I'm calm, I can, but under a stressful circumstance, I don't want to be going, what is my son's daughter? What number? What is my daughter's number? What are my grandchildren's numbers? Have all those important numbers on a piece of paper, and who your network person is. It is recommended on your plan, which we'll talk about next week a little bit, that you have someone outside of the state as your contact person. So all the people that you love that live in the city with you are going to call that contact person and tell them that you're safe. So we may not be able to contact each other in San Diego where we live, but someone in another state, we can call them and they can get all the information. It's a good suggestion. And I do have that set up. Cash, you want to make sure you have some actual cash on hand because ATMs may not be working. You want to have different size bills, and you want to have at least a roll of quarters. You may need to use vending machines because they will continue to work no matter what's going on. And then the last suggestion is paper and a pencil. The practical things of life. You might want to leave a note. You might want to stick a note up on your door if you leave your property for your kids that might show up or a neighbor that might show up. I love the concept that you have paper and a pencil. My recommendation is that when you get up in the morning one day, you decide, this is the day I'm going to pay attention to my life. I'm going to write down notes of the important things that I do and that I need. And I'm going to start making a checkoff list. Women, we're not going to worry about our makeup if we're in an emergency. So that's not important. But like I said, if you wear contact lenses or you wear glasses, you want to think about having a second set of glasses available to you so that you can see where you're going and what you're doing. There's a lot of things that we do during the day that we don't think about when we're making an emergency plan. So that's a good assignment for all of you this week. Sit down and start writing out what things are important to you and how you could be safe if you could not contact anyone for days and days and days. So there's so much wonderful information on the ready.gov site for people with disabilities, for all of these different types of disasters, anybody that's dependent on equipment, what you should do. And it's a really good website. I would really encourage you to go there. I know that this has been uncomfortable talking about disasters, but right now we're living in the midst of disasters. I have relatives in Oregon and in Washington. They still have horrible air quality. Cities have completely been decimated, and they're having to figure out what to do. People have had to leave Oregon and go to Washington because the air quality has been so poor. So these are real things. We have wildfires, even though they're under control finally in the East County, and we're not even into our wildfire season yet. That's next month. So I want you to be prepared. I want you to start thinking about wildfires, earthquakes, power outages with hot weather, which we've already had happen to us once, and how to make a plan. I hope this inspires you to think ahead. I hope that you start getting an emergency kit ready. And remember that I do check with reliable sources, but things from yesterday can change to today. And please check with your healthcare provider if you have any further questions. If you need help getting an emergency kit, you can call American Red Cross 211 or Aging and Independent Services, and they can help you. So take care. I hope this helped. Until next time, may God bless you. Stay safe.